Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here is, well, it's simple, but it's crucial. We take these dense stacks of sources, the competing narratives, all the legal jargon, and we just try to distill it all into something clear. It's basically a shortcut to being well-informed, and we focus only on the facts presented in the records we actually have in front of us. Today, we are undertaking a particularly,
You got here for anyway, bro. I swear to God, I'm in my own house. And if these got foot close to this door, bro, I'm gonna blow this away, bro. I don't give a bro. Leave me and my kids alone, That's some of the dead homies, bro.
You pointed a gun at us.
Why are you waking my daughter up?
You pointed a gun at us.
Why did you just wake my daughter up?
Us.
Why did you just wake my daughter up?
All I wanted to do was have a good Thanksgiving.
Why did you wake my daughter up?
Ray.
Because you're selfish. You're drunk.
You're a woman abuser.
You're drunk.
You're delusional.
complex deep dive. It's an incident that fused this high-profile celebrity conflict with some extremely serious legal action. We're looking at a stack of sources detailing a specific Thanksgiving morning arrest, the one involving Ray J and his estranged partner, Princess Love.
Yeah, and the sources, I mean, they're filled with these immediate conflicting narratives that just spilled onto social media almost instantaneously.
Exactly. So our focus is kind of threefold. First, the specific timeline of the alleged crime. Second, the definition and, the gravity of the felony charge that came out of it.
Yeah.
And third, the really detailed emotional public response from Princess Love that followed, which included some very serious accusations about substance abuse and ongoing endangerment.
And that focus on details is just so critical because this isn't just a story about a public argument. This centers on a felony charge-making criminal threats, which carries, significant legal weight. What's fascinating here is how quickly what started as this highly pressurized, maybe even private domestic conflict was just thrust into the public domain.
Right, through a live broadcast.
Exactly. And it immediately became a matter of police records, jail time, and a pretty substantial bail requirement.
So to understand this, we have to meticulously parse that timeline, right?
Yeah.
We need to understand the specific legal definitions. You mentioned the California Penal Code that applies here.
Mm-hmm. And then we have to analyze the sort of strategic implications of Princess Love's public allegations that came after.
Mm-hmm.
We basically need to turn down the emotional volume a bit and just examine the facts as they're laid out in these documents.
Absolutely. We're looking at how a domestic dispute escalated, and I mean really escalated, to the level of law enforcement getting involved and a felony booking. And the core of this entire chaotic story, it began in the most modern way possible. It was broadcast live on a social media stream.
All right, let's unpack this chronology of chaos. The sources give us a really sharp early morning timeline for the incident that led to Ray J's arrest. This wasn't some slow burn argument that kind of fizzled out.
No, not at all. This resulted in immediate law enforcement intervention, which really highlights the severity of the threat that was perceived.
We know the setting, a residence in Porter Ranch, California.
Yeah.
And that's important because it establishes jurisdiction. We're talking about the Los Angeles Police Department, the LAPD, as the responding agency.
Right. And they arrived responding to a call. Not just a noise complaint, but a call about a possible domestic disturbance involving specific threats.
And the timing, it's just brutal. The records indicate the arrest of Ray J, and they use his legal name, Willie Norwood, happened at 4 to 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. I mean, the fact that police were dispatched for threats in the pre-dawn hours of a national holiday, it just tells you the situation was already elevated to a level of, well, perceived physical danger.
But before the police even got there, the seeds of this felony charge were being sown publicly.
Yeah.
And that's the crucial modern element here, the live stream.
Mm-hmm. The sources say Ray J appeared on a live social media feed, actively broadcasting his state of mind, his distress. He was reportedly ranting, claiming he was having, and this is a quote, the worst Thanksgiving of his life.
It makes you wonder, right? Why broadcast a moment of such extreme vulnerability or conflict?
That's the million-dollar question. And the content of that rant, according to what we have, it moves past just emotional distress very quickly and into specific escalating accusations. He claims someone was trying to take his children.
And that he himself was being threatened. So he was building this narrative, right? A narrative of being victimized or needing to defend himself, which he then seemed to use to frame what he did next.
Precisely. And this leads directly to the reported physical actions that cross the line from a verbal conflict to alleged criminal behavior. The sources detail that during this live stream, In response to these perceived threats against him and the kids, Ray J reportedly reached for a handgun,
And appeared to load it.
and then proceeded to make explicitly violent statements aimed at anyone who was trying to approach him or the house.
And the specific threat quoted in the sources is, "It's chilling. It's so direct." He allegedly warned that if anyone stepped near his door, he would blow them away.
And there it is. When you combine the visual act of handling and loading a firearm, a potentially lethal weapon, with that specific language, referencing death or serious harm, the situation instantly meets a threshold.
A threshold that requires law enforcement to act.
Especially in a domestic setting, yes. The sources make it clear that the combination of the visual documentation from the live stream and the specific nature of that threat, it resulted in swift legal consequences.
He was booked on a felony charge of making criminal threats. And that's a critical distinction, as you said. It's not disorderly conduct. It's not a simple assault. It's a felony.
Which suggests the LAPD took the threat with extreme seriousness from the very beginning.
The booking process seems to underscore that. He was in an LA jail for a few hours. That tells me they saw him as a legitimate flight risk or, a danger, at least initially.
And then there's the money, the financial detail of his release. Bail was set at $50,000.
Okay, so for our listeners, that figure, it's not just random, right? What does a $50,000 bail tell us about how the state was assessing the situation?
That's a great question because the numbers here tell a story. In the California system, bail is generally set based on the severity of the crime and the defendant's perceived risk.
Risk of what, though? Running away?
Both. Risk of flight and, critically in this case, risk to public safety, especially to the alleged victims. A $50,000 bail for a first-time charge of making criminal threats, which is a violation of Penal Code 422, that indicates the court viewed the evidence from the LAPD as highly credible.
So it suggests they thought a significant danger was averted or at least contained.
Exactly. It signifies the initial legal view that his actions warranted serious consequences and, frankly, a lot of caution. So now that we've kind of established the timeline and the fact of the arrest, let's drill down into the charge itself. Because to really get the gravity here, we have to move beyond just the label felony and look at the specific definition of making criminal threats that's in the source material.
The sources call the charge terrorizing, causing fear. That word, terrorizing. It's so active, it speaks directly to the psychological impact on the victim, doesn't it?
It does. It's not about whether the person intended to follow through on the threat. It's about their intent to inflict fear. The California Penal Code defines this as making a threat to a victim or victims of immediate and serious bodily harm or death. And there are usually 4 core elements that have to be present to make this charge stick.
Okay, what are they?
1, the defendant willfully threatened to commit a crime that would result in death or great bodily injury. 2, the threat was made with the specific intent that the statement be taken as a threat.
So you can't just say it was a joke?
Not easily, no. 3, the threat was so clear, immediate, unconditional, and specific that it conveyed to the person a real gravity of purpose. And 4, the threat caused the victim to reasonably fear for their safety or the safety of their family.
Wow. That third element, the threat being clear, immediate, and specific, that's where his alleged actions, reaching for a gun and threatening to blow them away, that's where it really gets its power.
Exactly. The physical act of handling a firearm provides all the context and specificity needed to make the victim's fear seem completely reasonable, even if the gun was never actually fired.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the reason the LAPD went straight to a felony charge is because of the gun.
I think that's a fair assessment. When the threat involves a weapon capable of lethal force, especially in a domestic setting where, a victim might have limited options to escape, the legal system automatically treats that danger as immediate and serious. It just ticks all the boxes for a Penal Code 422 charge.
And it doesn't matter who you are.
Celebrity status is irrelevant at that point.
And it was at this legally combustible moment that this immediate high-tension confrontation happened between Ray J and Princess Love, the one that's captured in the source materials.
Right. And Princess Love reportedly enters the scene holding their daughter, Melody, who is 6 years old.
Oh, man. That detail about the 6-year-old daughter, that's probably the most critical part of the whole domestic disturbance call, isn't it?
Arguably, yes. It means the perceived danger from the firearm was happening with a child physically present. That just intensifies the gravity for law enforcement and later for the court's actions, like setting that high bail.
The sources give us the exact raw exchange that kind of captures the two conflicting narratives in that one moment. Ray J's alleged statement was, it was an aggressive counterattack. He was focused on her being impaired.
Yeah, the quote is, "Take my kids 'cause y'all drunk. Y'all want to drive drunk. Drive drunk. Drive drunk, princess."
So he's trying to pivot the blame immediately, suggesting she's intoxicated, unfit to drive with the kids.
But her reply, according to the documents, it just immediately snaps the focus back to his actions with the weapon. She says, very simply, "Ray, you just pointed a gun at us."
It's so direct, a concise, specific accusation of assault and threatening behavior. She's immediately establishing the core fact that would lead to that felony charge.
And his reaction, a blanket denial. "I didn't point nothing at y'all." And that exchange right there, it just crystallizes the whole dilemma for investigators, for the public. It's this immediate volatile clash. He's claiming she's drunk and dangerous. She's claiming the danger came directly from him and a firearm.
And it wasn't just the two of them. The source notes the scene escalated even more when another man came into the house and confronted Ray J.
Yes, later identified as Princess Love's cousin's husband. And that detail is important because it reinforces the point that the threats weren't just directed at her, but at potentially multiple victims who were there.
Which would align with the police responding to a domestic disturbance involving threats against multiple people.
Exactly. And the intervention of a third party, a family member showing up, that often introduces another layer of complexity to these situations. It can move the conflict from, an intimate argument to a physical confrontation that requires immediate police action.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little. Let's transition from the chaos of the arrest to the next strategic move, which was Princess Love's public response. Because after Ray J was released on that $50,000 bail, the narrative shifted from the crime scene back to the court of public opinion.
It sure did.
She released this detailed public statement. It was a video on Instagram captioned, "Enough is enough." The sources do note it's since been deleted, but this video, it was clearly designed to do more than just confirm the arrest happened.
Oh, absolutely. It was an attempt to provide critical context and really to detail the severity of the situation entirely from her perspective. Analyzing her opening statements, you can see this deliberate effort to establish her own credibility.
How so?
Well, she claims she's been focused on protecting my peace and staying off of social media. By framing herself as someone who wants stability and wants to stay away from public drama, she's trying to lend more weight to her words now that she feels forced back into the spotlight.
Right, like I wouldn't be speaking up if this wasn't serious.
Precisely. Her stated focus was on responsibility, going to work, taking care of my kids, minding my business. This theme of being this singular, devoted mother is a very powerful rhetorical tool. She presents herself as the stable element dedicated only to the kids' welfare.
Which directly undermines Ray J's claims that she was intoxicated.
Exactly. And she goes into specific detail to really cement that role. She emphasizes she's the best mother and highlights that she's the one handling the key, the non-glamorous parenting duties all by herself. School, parent-teacher conferences, bedtime.
For the listener, that's crucial. She's not just saying, "I'm a good mom." She's providing specific, actionable evidence of her involvement. She's building this really strong foundation for the narrative that she would never, ever endanger her children.
And that foundation becomes the springboard for her most powerful claim. She connects her responsibility as a mother directly to the threat by stating, "I love my kids, and I would never do anything to put them in danger, including leaving them with a man who's waving a gun around."
So she's reframing the whole thing. Her action, trying to leave the house with the kids, was a defensive move. It was rooted in her duty as a mother, not an aggressive act driven by being drunk like he alleged.
That's the core of her argument.
And here's where it gets really, really interesting. She broadens the scope of the accusation way beyond just that one Thanksgiving morning. She starts talking about what she claims is a pattern of his behavior.
Yes, she accuses Ray J of running around the world terrorizing women and abusing women. This isn't just about one fight anymore. She's painting a picture of systemic misconduct that she believes justified her fear during that specific incident.
That's a very strategic move. It serves a dual purpose, right?
I think so. First, it preemptively counters any defense Ray J might raise that the Thanksgiving thing was just an isolated incident, that he was just stressed out or angry. And second, it shifts the public perception from a volatile argument between two people to a victim speaking out against a pattern of abuse.
So her detailed defense of why she was trying to get the kids out of there becomes paramount.
It has to be. And she claims that's what triggered the gun incident in the first place.
Let's look at that specific alleged motive. She makes it clear she was only at his house for the kids' sake on the holiday. She says she agreed to come over and cook for Thanksgiving, specifically so Ray J could be around Melody, who's 6, and Epic, who's 5.
And according to her, the conflict blew up precisely when she tried to exercise her parental judgment and leave. She claimed the alleged gun incident happened because she was trying to leave his house and take the children with her.
Which frames his alleged action as an act of resistance to her parental authority, an attempt to forcibly detain them using a weapon.
Exactly. And as we touched on earlier, she confirms that the threat involved more than one person. She stated the threat was directed at her and her cousin's husband, who was with her.
Which, again, aligns with the police responding to multiple victims feeling threatened, and that strengthens the case for the felony charge.
It does. And her statement closes this whole segment with this really clear demand. She tells him to not deflect and not take accountability for your actions for pulling a gun out on me and my cousin's husband. It's her attempt to anchor the whole discussion back to the specific, actionable crime that got him arrested.
And to eject his counterclaims about her being drunk as nothing more than deflection?
That's the message she's sending, loud and clear.
So, moving deeper into her public statement, Princess Love wasn't just content to address the events of that Thanksgiving morning. To fully explain her lack of trust and the volatile nature of their co-parenting, she delves into some highly sensitive personal accusations.
Yeah, about infidelity and other incidents involving the children.
Exactly. And this detail is really intended to illustrate why she felt she had to physically supervise their time together. She states that the last time she left the kids alone with him, they found you naked in a bed with a woman.
I mean, that is a devastating and incredibly specific accusation. She's claiming their young children were exposed to a totally inappropriate situation because of his alleged infidelity.
The primary purpose of dropping that bombshell into the public discourse has to be providing context for the extreme measures she took on Thanksgiving, right?
Absolutely. She's essentially justifying her defensive posture. She's arguing that she felt she had to be physically present when he was with the children because of past incidents of, well, alleged inappropriate conduct. The source materials present this as her core reason for trying to get the kids out of there when the conflict started.
And when she tried to question him about that alleged prior incident, the response she says she got was just intensely hostile and dismissive.
Yeah, she quotes him as telling her to fuck myself and that I don't run and stover there.
Wow.
And that alleged, quote, it illustrates the highly aggressive, disrespectful, and totally non-cooperative dynamic she claims is governing their relationship. It just reinforces her narrative that co-parenting with him unsupervised is impossible or dangerous.
That quote powerfully conveys a complete breakdown of power and respect within that co-parenting structure. The implication is that even when she's confronting him about something that allegedly exposed their children, he just asserts total dominance and rejects her authority completely.
Which is why, in her narrative, the simple act of trying to leave the house with the children could escalate so quickly into a situation with a firearm. She claims she was operating under this deep-seated, justifiable distrust.
And this alleged volatility and pattern of behavior then leads directly to her urgent public appeal for him to get help.
Right. She didn't just demand accountability for the felony. She made a direct appeal for Ray J to check yourself into rehab. And she specified the reason, stating, "You're more than drunk."
So she's suggesting that the underlying cause of his alleged volatility is refusal to cooperate and the specific violence of that Thanksgiving incident. It's all linked to a substance abuse problem that needs professional help.
Not just a temporary cooling-off period, no. And she emphasizes the extreme and ongoing danger of his actions beyond just that one morning. She frames it as a pervasive, dangerous environment.
Right. She says, waving a gun around and leaving guns everywhere around your house is not okay.
And that final phrase suggests that the presence of unsecured firearms isn't an anomaly. It's a systemic hazard in his home, which just adds another layer of grave concern for the safety of their kids.
Her final sentiment in the video, according to the sources, it kind of balances this reluctant statement of support with a very firm boundary. She says, I'm going to continue to pray for you and pray that you get the help that you need.
It acts as a clear declaration. She's saying, I wish you well, but I am drawing a hard line against this dangerous behavior continuing.
So when we summarize the stakes here, we have to remember that Melody is 6 and Epic is 5. They are incredibly young kids at the center of this dynamic where you have allegations of infidelity, substance abuse, and felony firearm threats. And it's all now a matter of public and legal record.
And Princess Love's closing statement perfectly encapsulates the coerced nature of their relationship dynamic, at least as she describes it. She says, everything I do for my kids. including being around you when I don't want to or have to.
So the sources really paint a picture of a relationship that's dictated by distrust, fueled by public accusations of systemic abuse, and fundamentally governed by the legal seriousness of a felony charge involving a weapon.
That's a perfect summary of the situation as it's presented. So, in synthesizing all the information from our deep dive, we are left with these two strong, public, and, well, highly contrasting narratives from the sources, all about the events of that Thanksgiving morning and the broader context of their co-parenting.
On one side, we have Ray J's alleged immediate counterclaims, right? The ones he made during the live stream and the confrontation. It all centered on his accusation that Princess Love was intoxicated and trying to take the kids while she was impaired.
Suggesting that he was reacting defensively to a threat that she created with her alleged actions.
Exactly. Then, on the other side, we have Princess Love's extensive and very detailed public counterdocumentation.
And that encompasses not just the core Thanksgiving incident, the gun waving directed at her and her cousin's husband, but also these powerful allegations of domestic abuse, a history of terrorizing women, instances of infidelity allegedly witnessed by the children.
And a public plea for him to check into rehab. She frames the entire incident as a necessary protective measure taken by a concerned mother.
Right. And what's crucial is how the specific details in the sources move this from just some chaotic public spectacle to a documented legal incident. We know the exact severe charge, felony-making criminal threats,
which the Penal Code defines as terrorizing causing fear of immediate and serious bodily harm. And that $50,000 bail figure confirms the state's high initial assessment of the danger level involved here.
And the setting of the incident, the Twitch livestream, is pivotal. It simultaneously provided documentation that likely aided law enforcement's classifying the charge, while also forcing the conflict into this immediate public visibility.
And Princess Love's subsequent, now-deleted Instagram video was a strategic response to that. It was her trying to control the narrative, offering these granular details that she felt were necessary to counter the legal fallout and his claims.
The sources really highlight the terrifying reality of a conflict that involves dangerous items, specifically a firearm being allegedly wielded, particularly when young children are directly referenced in the context of the threat.
And the public nature of it all means that the narrative around the arrest, the bail, and the accusations, it was all heavily influenced by how quickly it was broadcast and documented online.
Yeah, this immediate live broadcast of a domestic incident, it raises these profound questions about accountability in our digital age. Given that the felony charge is legally defined as terrorizing, causing fear of immediate and serious bodily harm, it makes you wonder.
What's the question it raises for you?
Well, how does the documentation of domestic conflicts in real time through social media streams fundamentally alter things? How does it alter both the evidence available to law enforcement, often capturing the alleged crime in progress, and the public's perception of accountability when such serious claims and legal charges are involved?
So is the public broadcasting of a threat a desperate cry for help, an attempt to control the legal outcome, or something else entirely?
Or both. It's a fascinating and troubling question.
A truly complex intersection of law, privacy, and public life. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.